Our next speaker is a renowned physician from Delhi who has been working on the concept of healthy aging for many years now. He is currently the chairman of Wellness, Health and You, an organization doing tremendous work in the field of promoting self-care, strengthening primary healthcare services and elderly care. Please welcome Dr. G.S. Grewal. To chair the session, I would like Dr. Sandeep Datta, our Joint Secretary of Indian Association of Age Management, and Dr. V.P. Bansal to please co-chair. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Professor Bansal and my dear Sandeep. Good afternoon to all of you. बुजुर्ग अक्सर घरों में अकेले पाए जाते हैं, यहाँ पे भी अकेले ही घूम रहे हैं, लेकिन एक बुजुर्ग की लाठी सारे गांव को हिला देती है. So numbers don't matter, our intentions matter much more. And I'm most impressed by Dr. Chawla's presentation. And in my talk, you will see one slide which points out at Dr. Chawla's behavior, and I'll seek everybody's response to that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good evening to you, and thank you, Professor Bansal, for this opportunity. My topic is one I think, I don't know how many of you have heard of it, aging at home. And I am, as introduced, Dr. Grewal. Now, there are two issues in the topic today. One is empowerment and one is aging at home. These are two separate, interrelated topics. So let me tell you how I'm going to approach this. We'll discuss first a few facts on aging, the challenges of aging, and then aging at home. Now, facts on aging, there are phenomenally two things happening in society today. One is rapid urbanization and one is rapid aging. The Niti Aayog paper in February 24 says that the population above 60 is rising exponentially. Presently it is 10% and it is expected to be 15% by 2050. This is the government figure. I'm sure it's going to be higher. Then, as somebody did mention, globally by the end of this decade, by 2030, the number of people living 60 years and older will grow by 56%. And what is more important, as was mentioned by, I think, Dr. Bansal, that there will be more aged people beyond 60 years over the adolescent age group of 10 to 24. And we have a Ministry of Child Welfare Department in the Government of India, whereas their population is going to go down. So, Professor Bansal, we have to work upon the demand to the Government of India to have a ministry for elder care. United Nations calls any country aging whose population is more than 7%, which is beyond 60. We are already 10. So India is an aging nation. And we are going to be a grey nation before we become a rich nation. So that's the phenomenon of exponential growth. Within this growth, there is a phenomenon of rapid aging or feminization of aging. And what is that? If you just see the lower lines, the pink line and the blue line is much ahead of the pink line. Go above, reach around 85, and you see the pink line is overtaking the blue line. The pink line is females and the blue line is males. So, you will have ladies living longer than men. And I always say this, कि जितना मर्जी मूंछ पे ताव दे लो, मरोगे पहले ही. So, single mothers have their own issues. Remember, these are those ladies who are in their 80s. What was their social status 50 years ago? हम तो आए हैं सिर्फ परिवार की सेवा करने के लिए. That's the mental makeup they had. And today you expect this lady to ask for her rights? You're asking for too much. So, the feminization in aging has their own social and personal problems. There is an enormous amount of social isolation of this elderly widows. The health system, I don't know how many of you feel it, but the elder lady in the house is the last person to be accessing the health care. नहीं ये तो ठीक हो जाएंगे, इनकी ऐसे ही है, ये तो ऐसे ही है. So there is a hostile attitude of the family towards an elderly lady. And these are issues which come in the life of an elder. And then, as I say, that longevity is a marvel of science, but longevity has its own challenges. The challenges of aging which have been identified, besides looking after diseases, etc., The challenges that are coming in the life of an individual elderly today are ageism and abuse. And what is ageism? Ageism is stereotyping and discrimination against individuals or groups on the basis of their age. This may be casual or systematic, and it is patterned on what we used to see sexism and racism. When we were in college, Professor Bansal, I remember in 1970s, any girl who came to wearing skirts in the college, we boys used to talk to each other, chalu hai yaar. So that was sexism, because we were assessing the character of the person based on what she was dressing. I mean, how criminal were we? But that's what the society was. And today, Shadi jari hai, the old man is taking more time to come up. Half the people will say, Bauji nu na chhad do, baraat late ho jayegi. This is ageism. It happens in day to day in our own houses. So ageism is a big challenge for elders. And you can't help it. You're going to live for 100 years. So you've got to prepare for that. Then there are examples of ageism happening every day in and day out. I just wanted to... This very commonly, when a woman is told, what you're wearing doesn't suit your age. And that's what I wanted to point out to Dr. Chawla. Many would tell her, badi ajeeb aurat hai, aise umar se bhi nachdi hai. That's ageism. That's ageism, ma'am. People would laugh to each other and say as though they are complimenting you. But actually, they are criticizing you. They are judging you by your age, because you're not supposed to be dancing at this age. You're supposed to be doing Ram 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 Ram. So you've been out of the frame means different. So these are some of the examples. Every day you hear of people saying, sorry, ab aapki umar ho gayi hai, aap is job ke liye fit nahi ho. It is all ageism. And the second is abuse. Elder abuse is any act which causes harm to an older person and is carried out by someone whom they know and trust, such as a family member or a friend. That's important. It's not sarak pe jaake gali de rahe hain. It's an abuse. And WHO has identified 3 categories of abuse. Even if somebody is being neglected at home, if an elder cannot have the liberty to make choices of their own, it is an abuse. So unless we know that I'm being abused, we know of so many times I see a Mataji coming I go to see them at 4 o'clock and I ask them, roti nahi mili? Nahi. Kyun nahi mangi? Aise umar te hun ki mangna hai? So they decide themselves, and that is self-abuse. So it's happening in society, and this is a challenge because they're going to live for another 30 years. They have no alternate. So it can be intentional, unintentional, or a result of neglect. And let me tell you, abuse is a criminal offense. If somebody is reported, he is criminally taken into task by the Indian Penal Code. So I come to talk to you today to the solutions of these challenges for this growing population. And that is what WHO has opined is healthy or active aging and aging in place or aging at home. And active aging has been defined by WHO. It is the process of, you see, each word is a project by itself. It is the process of optimizing opportunities for health, participation, and security. 3 issues in order to enhance quality of life as people age. So the focus has now shifted to quality of life. It's not kitne saal aur rahega, jitne saal rahega, kya quality se zinda rahega. So the emphasis has changed by WHO. And every government who's a member of the WHO is bound to follow that. So the 3 components of healthy aging: physical well-being, cognitive health, and emotional and social well-being. These are the 3 components of active aging. And then within this healthy aging, within those 3 parameters, there are abilities that a person needs to have. To do what? To meet their basic needs. These are the abilities where kahan kaam aayenge your abilities. To learn, grow, and make decisions. To be mobile. To build and maintain relationships and contribute to society. I like the line Dr. Harmeet mentioned when he says, what is the use of an association? It is gathering of people. Unless you meet, you cannot. I'm sure, I don't know how many people, Dr. Bansal also is from Punjab. Kund Council, there used to be a place in the villages where all the animals would come to drink water. And around that place where they had water, the elders of the village used to sit around and discuss things. It used to be called the Kund Council. And they were the supreme body of the village. So the emphasis now is in quality of life. So when quality of life has taken precedence, the best place to live is in your own home. We've always been saying home sweet home. But many older adults and their families are concerned about their safety, getting around, or other daily activities. Living at home as you age requires careful consideration and planning. It's not a continuous journey. As you grow, if you want to continue living in your house with safety and independence, certain things need to change. And that's where is the challenge, and that's where is our role. US Center for Disease Control says that aging in place defines the ability to live in one's own home and community safely, independently, and comfortably, regardless of age, income or ability. So that is aging at home. Aging is not just staying in your house. You got to be able to live with dignity and with quality. And that's where we need to take our work forward. So to be able to live that, we need the elders to be empowered. If I'm not empowered, how will I take decisions to make the changes that are necessary for me to live safely and comfortably? And there is where the next challenge to the health professionals and social workers come. How do we do it? The elders are faced with a dual burden. One, managing their existing diseases, and now the additional burden of aging factors. Now this aging factors is a new addition in the burden of elders. Aging factors either create new diseases or further deteriorate the existing diseases. So if you are a diabetic and somebody has a deteriorating aging factors, the complications of diabetes become faster, become more enhanced. So aging factors contribute to both. So the problem is early detection of these aging factors often gets missed and neglected, as the discussion on or assessment of them is not part of regular visits. So when elders are going to a diabetic, they never discuss about aging factors. Aapki sugar theek hai, aapke gurde theek hai, aapko peshab theek aa raha hai, jao mast raho. And he comes home and says, मैं ठीक नहीं हूँ यार, सारी रिपोर्टें ठीक आई हैं डॉक्टर साहब, पर मुझे मज़ा नहीं आ रहा लाइफ का, लगता मैं गिर जाऊँगा, लगता मैं मर जाऊँगा. So it's not those, it's the aging factors. And today I bring to you that the essence of empowerment, what we are talking, how to empower the elder, is assessing of aging factors, and the influence the aging factors are having on that person, and providing support to the elders to handle or overcome the problem areas identified in the assessment of the aging factors and the concept of care plan. So these days we talk about your care plan. And unless and until every health provider talks about care plan based on assessment of the aging factors. And what are the aging factors? Physical factors. You will see that none of them, there are 5 aging factors, none of them have any disease. You have frailty. Who checks frailty on a routine? Nobody. Loss of muscle mass, urinary incontinence. Then you have mental health factors, which are 3 important: cognitive decline, loneliness, and depression. Then you have functional factors, activities of daily living, instrumental activities of daily living. Then you have social and environmental factors. And the last one, which now Niti Aayog has included, is the digital usage factor. How much are elders conversant with digital use, or how much are they wanting to get trained for use of digital use? Both is an aging factor. So based on these assessments conducted, with the help of a comprehensive questionnaire, history, basic examination, demographic history, it is possible to identify the areas that need attention or correction under the domains and prepare a care plan. And then, once a care plan is prepared, we need to be in a position to advise whatever needs to be done or whatever needs to be changed or the interventions required even at home. So that is how you execute the care plan, and that is how you empower the elder person. So therefore, that will be the empowerment, true empowerment to the elder. So WHO has called the health services hostile towards elders. Elder-friendly health services is a very big topic with the WHO. And they have said that the health services are hostile. It's not that they are annoyed or get against you. This lady who walked into the orthopedics OPD and said, "Mere daine ghutne mein dard hai," she's 85. The doctor, who was probably not sensitized, turns around and says, "Mata ji, is umar mein to hota hi hai." She says, "Beta, mera baएं घुटना भी 85 साल का है. So if उसमें दर्द नहीं है तो मेरे को I'm sure कि वो दर्द का नहीं है." This is the sensitivity. That is how it is hostile. So the time has come for every health professional, irrespective of their speciality, to provide elder-friendly health services. These services will be addressing the issue of empowerment and not just treating diseases. Why? Because elders are going to live longer. You have no choice. You can't tell them 5 saal ke baad aana. The doctor will die, the elder is still there to live. So I've started the first ever, I may share with you that with God's grace and with the motivation of so many others, I've started the first ever, I think it's the first ever, Center for Elders Health Care and Support Services at the New Friends Colony, where it is exclusively for elders. Professor Bansal was with us on 17th of March, where we did the first camp, and it was no diseases, only assessment of aging factors. And it was not free. There was a token registration of 200 rupees, but we assessed all the 21 people who came on the aging factors, and we are preparing an care plan for each one of them and are discussing it with each one of them. Whatever support services they need, we are going to provide from there. And as I always say, that this was unthinkable 20 years ago. We have our 92-year-old chairman of DLF getting married again. We have 96-year-old gentleman in Kalkaji who says, "Main vyah karauna dobara," and his children are fighting with him. So, as ma'am said, I don't want to bring in morality, but being promiscuous was never considered a sin. It was considered you're not fit yet. I remember the days when there was HIV in 90s. There was a big debate on what is safe sex. And one of the definitions given by the WHO expert said postponement of sex is also safe sex. So when we get into morality, we get into a contest between their morals and my morals. My way of working is, I don't get into morality. I say, if you are like that, it is going to affect you ABC way. Let's talk about their health rather than say that it is immoral. That's just my view, ma'am. So thank you very much for your patient hearing, and it's a pleasure.
Thank you, Dr. Grewal sir. And I know when you took over as a president of DMA, so you had a mission that you will do something for elders. I have a personal experience with him. So once he invited me to that forum, and he told me, let's talk about pedal edema. तो मैंने कहा, सर pedal edema ये तो बड़ा common है और सबको पता ही होगा. तो they were around 50 to 100 elders in his group. All came, they were very enthusiastic. We had a talk with them. Then we discussed certain questions. In the end, we asked them to do certain tests to check whether they have pedal edema or not. And unfortunately, 80% of people, they had pedal edema. Some were due to drugs. Some were taking suboptimal drugs. Nobody was there to help them out to go to a nearby clinic to get blood pressure done. And Dr. Grewal, we call him Bobby. He's very commonly known as Dr. Bobby Grewal. So he made sure that everybody's blood pressure is checked subsequently. And after 10-15 days, he told that our mission is complete. So I think this is the way of dedication.
I'm so glad Sandeep remembers it. Every Friday, ladies and gentlemen, for the last 4 years at 4 p.m., for the last 4 years, every Friday, we have an Elders Health Talk, which is an online session. And we have around 65 to 70 elders, sometimes 100. And one issue is raised, an expert is called, and interactive session, and the elders come up. And there where it is when I realized, we've also started from our center a facility called Second Opinion. So it is second opinion to explain a prescription or second opinion to an elder on his own disease. And you can't imagine the number of people who are ringing me up and sending their papers for the second opinion. So the requirement is enormous. And we are, Dr. Alok Bhandari say, we just had a word. I'm glad Dr. Bansal raised it with him. I don't hesitate to say, 95% of physicians today are insensitive on how to treat an elder. 95%. It is so disappointing to see. A diabetic lady came and she came to me with zukam vagera. I said, you went to this person yesterday. Did he advise you flu? And I'm considered quite a madman. I rang that guy immediately in front of her. I said, why didn't you tell her about flu? Oh sir, yaad hi nahi rehta. See, that's the halat. So if the providers are not sensitized, and there where Professor Bansal has a big role to play, to first sensitize the healthcare providers of what is elder-friendly health services. It's not yari dosti karna. It is your quality which caters. It's not ke aaj elder aa gaya to goli aadhi kar do, nimusalide mat do. That's what is going on. And therefore, there is a sense of absolute distrust amongst the elders towards the medical profession. When I speak to them, I tell them कि आपको कई लोगों को ऐसे लगेगा कि मैं जाल बिछाने आया हूँ, अभी मछली पकड़ूंगा और जाके किसी सर्जन को आपकी टांग कटवा दूंगा. And they say, yes, हमें यही शक है. So both ways we are losers, because we have the good facilities, but there is a mistrust. And that barrier will only be broken once I'm asking all my friends, I mean Sandeep is one of them, we are going to say, I'm requesting him, once a week, dedicate one OPD to elder care. That day he sees only people beyond 65. See the difference, Sandeep, you will see the difference. So that is how we have to go ahead. Thank you very much.
And sir, I just want to add one more point.
Please.
As you are in now come to then healthy aging, I think elderly population in which this group, if you're not adding melatonin at night, sometimes we are not doing justification to them.
That's right.
Because it has an rather
good.
than sleep, it has a property of increasing the growth hormone also.
Growth hormone.
So simple ways, simple methods, we can
Very good,
improve a lot.
Sandeep. Very nice. Very nice. That's a sensitized guy. Yes, sir.
I feel that the medical profession these days should be more sensitive.
Sir, let's shoot them all.
Towards elders.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The medical profession these days has become so much commercialized that they are not sensitive at all. I was a medical representative right from 1963 and I left in 1982. I resigned in 1982. And the medical doctors that I met were so sensitive that they were very, very friendly towards their patient. But now I find that the doctors are so commercialized that they are hardly, sensitive towards their patient. This point that you were raising is quite valid, and I salute you for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I also would like to add, sir, if permitted, one answer. There's nothing wrong in being commercial. I tell my colleagues, आपकी फीस 500 है, 1000 कर दो. 1000 है, 2000 कर दो. Justify it. Justify it. That's important. If the elder needs different kind of attendance, take more money, but give him more time. Ma'am.
5th of every month in my hospital, it's a menopausal day, free for everyone. And all over India, the Indian Menopausal Society decided that 5th of every month should be the Senior Citizen Day. So another way which I have shown, that is given to the relations. The patient, not to the patient, but the relation who are elders, so that by the time they are sitting in the waiting room.
आपको पर्चे पे ना menopause male और female लिख दो.
हाँ या आगे से ऐसे करूँगी. Usually I address them. जितने time वो waiting में होते हैं तो मैं I take a group meeting and talk to them.
Okay.
menopause or menopause. So that is
Thank you.
the way
Thank
we
you.
all can social.
Hello, Dr. Grewal, you have raised many valid points. And there are a few things which I wanted to add to what you have said. One thing that I pointed out when HelpAge India ma'am was addressing us was about the insurance. She said that 18% of our population is insured. We need some such system in which the people are insured on a very low premium, number one. And number two, after 75, people need more medical attention and the medical insurance is not available to them. So these, I think, issues should be taken by the government of India. They should be very sensitive towards these things. And forums like this are the places which can make the government aware about these problems. I think we should do it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Very well said.